My name is Noelle, and I'm a 40-year-old housewife. I want to share a bit about my family. I have a husband who is the same age as me and a daughter who just turned 16. I met my husband in college, and we fell in love and got married. Our relationship was pretty normal, but he is very different from me. While I have a rough personality, he is very detail-oriented and likes everything to be in its place. This obsession with order made me uncomfortable when we were dating, but I hoped that marriage would change things for the better. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. After we got married, he became even more particular, and I had to change my life to fit his rules. Despite my efforts to be tolerant, I couldn't accept all his behaviors. We often ended up in arguments, and my days felt exhausting with no time to rest. Our daughter was born 2 years after our wedding. My husband was thrilled to have a daughter, and I thought this might bring us some peace. I was relieved, but his attitude changed quickly. When a baby arrives, it's normal for parents to adjust their routines, but my husband didn't like that his schedule was disrupted. He would yell at our daughter when she cried at night and refuse to help with parenting. There were many times I thought about divorcing him because of his selfishness. However, I stayed for our daughter's sake, fighting hard to protect her, even risking my own well-being. Just when I thought I could manage, another tragedy struck, and it was connected to my daughter, the very one I worked so hard to protect. People often say children take after their fathers, and I desperately wanted my daughter to be different from him. Thankfully, she had my facial expressions, and I thought everything would be all right. But as she grew up, her personality started to mirror my husband's. By age 10, she began criticizing my cooking and would throw tantrums if things weren't in order. Now, as a teenager, she has entered a rebellious phase and even says hurtful things to me. I don't always let her have her way, so we argue often. It's painful because my husband usually sides with her and blames me. With both of them against me, I felt like I was constantly being criticized. One day, I woke up feeling very tired. I had a slight fever and was dizzy, making it hard to even walk or stand. I sat on a chair in the house, feeling weak, but neither my husband nor daughter asked if I was okay. Instead, my husband yelled at me, asking where I put his red tie and if I had washed his socks. It was clear they were only thinking about themselves. It was just a tie and some socks. Why did they make such a big deal out of these little things? Couldn't they pay any attention to me, at least for today? Somehow, in my foggy state, I managed to see them off before collapsing in the hallway. The next thing I knew, I was waking up to the familiar ceiling of the living room. I must have moved to the couch while I slept. I still felt tired, but after a good rest, I felt a bit better. It was nice to sleep so soundly, but I couldn't remember the last time I had felt this way. I gave in to that comfort and went back to sleep. When I woke up again, it was already dark outside. I glanced at the clock and saw it was past 5 in the evening. Panic hit me. I hadn't done most of the household chores, like laundry and dinner. I needed to at least make dinner, so I jumped up and rushed to the kitchen. Since I didn't have time to go grocery shopping, I had to use only leftovers to make a meal. "I'm home," my daughter announced as she walked in at the worst possible time while I was still in a rush. "Wait, you're still making dinner? That sucks," she replied, clearly annoyed. "I'm sorry, it'll be ready soon," I said, but she just ignored me and went to her room. A little while later, my husband came home from work. "What, you're still cooking dinner?" he said, sounding uncomfortable. He has a strict routine when he gets home, so he must have noticed things were off. After saying that, he went to his room. He usually starts eating 15 minutes after changing his clothes, which is also part of his routine. This meant I had only 15 minutes left to finish cooking. I rushed to cook, trying my best despite the rough chopping and the seasoning mistakes. I knew I had to finish before my husband came out of his room. I didn't want to face his reaction if I didn't. Just before he came out, I managed to finish plating the food. I felt a wave of relief wash over me. But it didn't last long. "What the hell is this?" my husband exclaimed when he saw the food. "What's wrong?" I asked, confused. "What's wrong? You have some nerve asking that," he replied, visibly upset. I didn't understand why he was angry. "This stir-fry is overcooked. The color is off. And the vegetables aren't even cut properly," he criticized. "I'm sorry. I was a bit rushed today," I explained. "Rushed? You're not working, so you have plenty of time," he said, and I couldn't forgive him for that comment. It felt like I wasn't doing anything right at all. Why did I have to be talked down to by a husband who didn't even notice how I felt? I was running out of time and patience. Before I knew it, I was screaming with all my might, "Do you have any idea how much I struggle every day?" My outburst seemed to shock my husband. I saw him take a step back, his eyes wide with fear. "What struggle? House chores can be done at your own pace. It's easy," he challenged. "What do you know? I can't just do them at my own pace," I shot back. I was beyond angry now. "I'm really sick today, you know. I pushed through and made dinner, and you didn't even take a bite. How do you think that makes me feel?" Tears started to fall as all my bottled-up emotions spilled over. Seeing my husband's face turn pale, I finally calmed down a bit, but I was still short of breath. I waited for him to respond. A simple "I'm sorry" would have been enough. But instead, his shaky voice cut through my hope. "Do you have any idea how much I struggle to support our family?" he said. "So you're saying I just live easy and free?" "I'm saying your job is to support me so I can focus on my work," he replied. "That's just an excuse. I'm not your slave," I snapped back. "Don't talk back to me," he yelled, and I could tell he was on the edge of losing control. I instinctively knew he might raise his hand against me, but I couldn't back down now. As I prepared to confront him with my next words, our daughter suddenly burst out of her room. "What are you doing? Your voices can be heard outside. Stop it. It's embarrassing." "Don't stop me. She's talking nonsense," my husband shouted back. "No, it's you being selfish. Just be quiet," our daughter reprimanded us, and it made us both pause. I explained what had happened, and after hearing both sides, my daughter turned to me and said, "Honestly, Mom, you're the one who's wrong." My daughter's words shocked me to my core. "Why?" I wondered. "Because housework is your job, isn't it? Dad can't take time off work, even when he's not feeling well." "That's right. You're too lenient on yourself," my daughter added. I felt resentment rise in me as my husband echoed her sentiments, saying, "Mom is always late with her chores. Even today, you haven't done the laundry yet." "That's true. And you're not efficient. You can't even fold the laundry properly." Their words shattered my emotions into pieces. "So, you're both saying I'm not trying hard enough?" I asked, feeling defeated. "Maybe you're not," my husband replied. "I could probably do it better and faster," my daughter chimed in. "Yeah, you're too laid back. I bet we could manage without you, Mom," she added, and those words cut deeper than anything else. Was I really that dispensable? I thought we were a family, but they could dismiss me so easily. Faced with this cruel reality, I ran out of the house. Before I knew it, I found myself in a dark park with no street lights. My feet hurt as I sat on a bench and realized I had run out without even putting on my shoes. My tears had dried up, and my mind felt blank. How long had I been sitting there? Even if I stopped thinking, their harsh words wouldn't disappear. My heart felt broken. Recalling what my husband and daughter said filled me with resentment. I will never forgive them, I thought. They, my family, Who trampled on my feelings must face some punishment. The next morning, I finished the cleaning and laundry perfectly. For breakfast, I prepared a meal as extravagant as a dinner at a fancy restaurant. By the time I finished, my husband and daughter came into the living room almost at the same time. Without looking at me, they both took their seats. "Come on, let's have breakfast," I said. Their faces seemed to tense up even more. "Mom, what's going on?" my daughter asked, surprised. "Today's breakfast is really fancy," I replied. "Isn't it your 16th birthday today? Did you forget?" Yeah, I did forget," my daughter admitted. "You should at least remember your own birthday, right, Dad?" Yeah," my husband answered awkwardly. After exchanging a few awkward words, they started breakfast, but there was no cheerful conversation. It was clear they were both watching my behavior closely. I wondered if they didn't realize how much they had hurt me or if they just didn't want to admit it. It made sense with my husband. After all, he felt like a stranger to me. But my daughter, she was the one I gave birth to and raised. I wished she would grow up to be more considerate and kind. It wasn't entirely wrong to say that daughters resemble their fathers. She should have been able to understand me with proper upbringing. I do have regrets, but it doesn't matter now. "Listen," I said, and just one word from me changed their expressions. "What's going on?" my husband asked, his voice shaking. "Starting today, I'm leaving this house." At that moment, both of their faces went pale. "Hold on. Why?" my daughter asked. "You said you could do the housework better than me," I replied. "I didn't say anything like that," she protested. "Yes, you did. I'm sure you said it," I interrupted. I had never cut her off so strongly before, but she didn't argue further. Now it was my husband's turn. "You said I have more free time than you because I'm at home," I reminded him. "I didn't mean it like that," he defended himself. "Stop making excuses. You work in the real world." He had nothing to say. "Don't misunderstand. I'm moving to another house starting today, but it doesn't mean I won't come back to this house." "Stop. Today's my birthday, right? You're going to celebrate, right?" My daughter's voice was pleading, and her face looked like she might cry. I looked at her and laughed. "I'm sorry. I'm serious about this." Watching my daughter crumble at my words, I quietly stood up. "Well, I'm off." I left the house as I heard my husband and daughter screaming behind me. That day, I booked a hotel room not far from our house. I also rented an apartment on a monthly basis and started buying the things I needed. Even while I was busy, my phone was flooded with messages from the two of them. My daughter kept sending apology messages and calling me every 5 minutes. My husband, however, still couldn't admit he was wrong. He sent me messages saying things like, "What you did was outrageous." I left all their messages on read. It's so convenient these days to show my intentions without having to respond. 2 nights after I left, I returned home once. As I opened the front door, my daughter came running up to me at lightning speed. "Mom, you came back." "I just came back to pick up something I forgot," I explained, trying to untangle myself from her hug. I headed for the living room. Since I had only been gone for 2 days, there was no change in the living room, just as I expected. However, the kitchen was a mess, piled high with convenience store lunchboxes, ramen cups, and empty bottles. Even worse was the bathroom. Laundry had been left unwashed there. My husband and daughter often complained about how I cooked and folded laundry, but neither of them could do any household chores at all. Of course, I expected the current disaster since they knew I had left. My husband was in the living room, but due to his pride, he turned his face away after just glancing at me. I pulled away from my sobbing daughter and left the house silently that day. 1 week later, when I returned home to check on them, the house was filled with garbage. These two never cleaned up or even took out the trash, but the mess was worse than I expected. My daughter appeared through the trash, looking horribly dirty with disheveled hair. She should have been able to take a bath by herself, but it was clear her life was falling apart. Finally, my husband admitted he was wrong. "I'm really sorry," he said, kneeling in the garbage and rubbing his forehead against it. "Don't think you're going to be forgiven just by prostrating yourself," I replied. For a moment, the air felt heavy. My husband's eyes widened in despair. Next to me, my daughter was in tears. "If you really feel sorry, first clean up this house. If you can't do that, I'll divorce you," I warned. I get it. Please forgive me," my husband pleaded. He jumped up and started stirring the trash around, but he didn't even know how to clean up properly. In the end, I took charge and directed both of them in cleaning. It took 3 days, but finally, everything was perfectly clean. "Now, shall we continue the birthday party?" I said cheerfully, looking down at my husband and daughter, who were lying in the now cleaner living room. From then on, my husband took over all the housework. Even my daughter, who used to side with her father, was now on my side. Those days had been very hard and painful, but now I realize they were necessary.